Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Happy Friday. It's me, Wrestling Inc. Managing Editor Nick Hausman, joined here today by my very good friend TK Trinidad. TK, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Have I never used the cowbell with you during the
You
show?
haven't.
Oh, it's a little banger. Ding, ding, ding. I'm like a total carnival person. Anyway, we have a great show today. Effie's in the house. TK, how cool is that? Awesome having Effie on the show again.
Awesome. I love it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, he spills the tea. He in this one, TK really goes in on some people in this one. Very targeted attack. So you guys will love that one. If you're listening to us in audio form, you'll have it here in just a couple minutes. If you want to watch it in video form, it's going to premiere on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel in about 27 minutes. So you can go over there, check it out. Of course, that's if you're watching us live as we record the news live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern on all of Wrestling Inc. social platforms. So come over, join us sometime. Be like Esteban here, who says it's 5 p.m. Eastern. You know what that means, right? Oh, I like that. It's a little Brody reference there too. It's good. But we got all kinds of people: John, Scott, Headlock Heel, Antonio Garcia. Everybody's in the house here today. We're gonna have a very fun Friday. We got a lot of news to talk about. After the news and after Effie, we'll dive into the mailbag. We're gonna look at tonight's AEW Rampage. But let's get to it. TK. It's time for news you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. I'm going to start off with the stupidest story of the past 24 hours, so I don't have to talk about it, hopefully, ever again. Bully Ray went on Busted Open, decided to cut a promo about how Jon Moxley apparently needs to apologize to AEW fans for not being on TV for 3 months and giving that experience to them because he went, for inpatient therapy for alcohol. So, Renee Paquette, she's tweeted out, bad take. Paige pointing out how behind the curtain, Devon is the preferred of the two Dudleys, probably because anything you want to say about this one, TK?
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, not necessarily pro. However, different era. We're in an era now where it's acceptable to admit your faults. It's acceptable to, take a break. But dang it, I could see her face. The gymnast, like we had a lot of athletes last year, a tennis player, a gymnast during the Olympics where they had to take a break and people pretty much, massacred them as well. So I think it's just, and not to give him an excuse, hopefully he's learned from this and people have explained to him that, hey, it's better than that way versus, because it could have ended a whole different way where we've seen it in the past where people had drinking problems and they passed away or their career was ended. Then what are you going to say then? So not to protect him, but there are a lot of people like him from that generation where it's like, just shut up and do the work.
Yeah, so M. Caspier, by the way, saying Simone Biles, Naomi
Thank you.
Osaka, those are the names we were looking for. I get it. I mean, it is very interesting to me right now watching these two generations butt up against each other. I don't know exactly what year the split happened. I'm going to guess it was sometime around 2002, 2003, where the culture just changed, if I had to kind of put a date on it. But there is definitely some butting up of sides and opinions going on right now in pro wrestling. And, I feel bad for these guys trying to navigate the waters right now. They keep putting their foot in their mouths. This was not good. And when you have his wife calling you out, that's no good. So I hope he does take it as a learning experience,
Hopefully he does. And, we are in America, so he's entitled to his opinion. And everybody's entitled to say that it's a stupid opinion. So hopefully he doesn't, fight that. Because sometimes you have to like eat crow. Sometimes you'll be like, all right, that was a stupid opinion. And, now it's time to move on.
I wonder, too, how much of it is like, I know I'm going to piss people off and like get a bunch of attention. I wonder about that sometimes, too. Because like when you make a statement like this, it's not going to be a popular take. And like, are we kind of like playing into, I guess, whatever Bully wants to be happening right now? Everybody's talking about Bully Ray and his opinion or bad take right now. I don't know.
Look, any news is good news depending on the person. You have some people who are, we'll say, host, journalists, and entertainers. We'll put that all in this sect. And you have, some people who don't care and they just want to say whatever just to get a rise, and they do that every single time, and we fall for it every single time in all across all medias. And then you have people who have a little bit more integrity, and they want to research it first before they say certain things, and they don't necessarily get all the likes and reposts and stuff like that. And sometimes you need that dollar, and you're willing to say that.
Need that dollar. Got to get busted open back to #1 on those iTunes charts, baby. He's got to listen in. You could hear something insane or something that offends you. I guess that's why people listen to things. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Housewives.
Yeah. Well, it's better. 90 Day Fiance is good. I'm a little behind. I got something to catch up on today.
See, everybody has their guilty pleasure. I love Catfish. Every single time, it's still the Catfish, but I still continue watching it. Everybody has their little their thing.
You're a big Catfish fan? You watch all the Catfish episodes?
Oh my gosh, I binge watched it last year, and now I'm all caught up. And every week I have one show, and I rarely watch shows just for pleasure, and that's my one show.
Can we talk real fast? Can we talk real fast about that episode where that girl had the spiritual woman she got connected to and like met her murderous dead father's ghost, and then there was that walking raccoon that like approached them in the pavilion? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about right now?
Oh, that was a couple seasons ago, I think you were talking about.
It was a while ago. Oh, I've watched every episode. There was some real paranormal stuff going on Catfish in that episode. It is wild. It is a wild show.
It's. I mean, it's. I just now they have a Catfish UK, which I binge watched too. And unfortunately, I'm not that proficient. Yeah, I'm not proficient in Spanish. But they have one in Catfish Mexico, which I might try to watch. So yeah, sorry,
I'm
guys.
not going to make Catfish or BattleBots show. Although I should talk more about BattleBots and maybe Catfish more on this show too. All right, moving away from all of this. Good news for AEW. Showbuzz Daily saying Dynamite drew 1.032 million viewers on TBS. It was #1 on the cable top 150, 0.44 in the 18 to 49. They were only #3 last week. This was their best audience since the second anniversary episode on October 6th, second best key demo set September 29th. And this is obviously not a fair comparison for this week with Raw going up against a strong NFL playoff game. But AEW can say they had the #1 wrestling show on cable this week in the 18 to 49 key demo by scoring a 0.44 compared to the 0.43 scored by Raw. So barely edged him out in that key demo, TK.
Who cares?
Hey, it makes for more tweets, right? It gives the other TK stuff to tweet about and laud about. I don't know. It got a lot of attention. I think it is very interesting that Raw's viewership continues to kind of lull. AEW does seem to be finding some momentum right now. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
They moved to TBS for them, I think.
I say that in jest. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if these two platforms were shows where they were 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months long, and then they took a break, then I think the ratings and all that stuff would be definitely more important, because you're going to use those ratings to get more money. But these shows are every week, all year long, and there are going to be ups and downs. Like and I get it. It's definitely tweetable, and you always want to be the person on top. So I get it. But for you have 4 types of fans. You have the AEW fans, they bleed AEW and they're like F WWE. Then you have the WWE fans who are like, they continue to complain about WWE every single week and they say F AEW. And then you have the fans who watch both of them. And then you have the fans who are like, is John Cena still around? So it's just kind of like, congratulations to them. At least they're not, at the bottom and not touching the top. So yeah, but I think for certain fans, it's just like, they like what they like.
Hey, look, saying you're the #1 show on cable for Wednesday night, that's a win, no matter how you slice it, right? And it's good for AEW's bottom line, because what AEW is trying to do is sell more advertising. As Jim Ross put it, help Tony Khan recoup his investment. I guess that hasn't happened yet, but in time, it sounds. So it would be really nice if they could sell advertising on AEW, and it sounds like WarnerMedia believes WWE has gone out of their way to make that difficult, because according to the Observer, WarnerMedia officials saw WWE's quote that they gave to the Toronto Star for this piece they did last week. They saw this quote as an attempt at a personal attack against the company and an attempt to hurt their advertising sales. So the full quote was, if you look at the gory self-mutilation that bloodied several women in the December 31st event on TNT, it quickly becomes clear that these are very different businesses. We had an edgier product in the Attitude Era, and in a 2022 world, we don't believe that type of dangerous and brutal display is appealing to network partners, sponsors, venues, children, or the general public as a whole. Do you think WarnerMedia has a right to be upset with the statement WWE put out there?
No, because WWE is acknowledging them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, they didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, it's one of those things where because WWE could go, and they did this, I think, initially for the first couple of months, and then they realized that they have to somehow, cater to the fact that they now have competition. And it's again, it kind of is one of those things like any news is good news. And now WarnerMedia can say WWE was talking about them, and now there are going to be some people who don't know what WWE was talking about, and they're going to now go to WWE or AEW, excuse me, to watch or figure out what episode this was on. So it actually kind of pointed for those people who, you're going to have some parents who are like, I don't want my children to see that, but then the children might hear about it and they're going to want to see it. So they actually might have pointed more eyes to AEW.
Maybe. I do feel like it is one of those things where you give like the conservative PTA mom a piece of paper to hold in the air and be like, look at this. This is an agreement with me, right? Like, I guess WWE is kind of feeding some ammo to that. And I'm not somebody who's on the ad sales side of television, so I don't know how much pressure that kind of stuff brings. Maybe it brings a lot, maybe it brings a little. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but think about it. The conservative PTA mom who's going to tell their kids, don't watch that. Like, it's no different than when they had was it the parental advisories that they used to have on like the CDs and stuff like that. Did any kid not listen to that music in some, like, they figured out a way? It's just like, the parents put on parental advisory on TV, kids figure out a way to get around it. So again, it's just kind of like, if you tell your child you can't watch this, they're going to find a way to watch it. So yes, they might be catering to a certain demo, but is that demo even watching wrestling?
Like the mom reads it, she gets upset, but the kid reads it and he's like, oh, this actually, what is this?
Yeah, let me go and check this. Because if you see something, if you see somebody essentially give somebody else shade and they're referencing something, I'm going to go and look for what they're referencing to now make the determination on my own. Like, oh, that was too much blood. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So, in 20 years ago, that might have been bad. But in an industry where now you can go and look something up on YouTube or just type it in Google and find it, they might have actually did AEW a service.
WrestleVote's here. They have an update on NXT, right? On the flip side of this. So WrestleVote saying internally, WWE said to be disappointed with NXT 2.0 in its first 4 months. A source said they thought more fans would gravitate towards the newer stars quicker than they have. Could it just be too much too fast? Either way, I don't expect any changes to the concept just yet. So maybe WWE projecting a little bit with that response to WarnerMedia. Like, how could you like that? Look over here. We got Tony D'Angelo smacking people with crowbars. That's totally kid-friendly. We had Harland was almost going to throw a man off a building. That's fine. That's kid-friendly right there. Not that. Ugh.
Oh yeah. I would love to see, or I don't know if you know, who is the person in charge for 2.0, and how old is this person?
It's Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koski are currently, it sounds like, the brain trust behind NXT. There's writers and stuff under them, and then of course now Vince has got a lot more influence on NXT too. So it's a more traditional structure now.
So it seems like, and I might be wrong, that 2.0 is geared to a younger demographic. But it seems like it's an older person thinking what the younger demographic would like. And
Yes.
it's just kind of like, your grandmother buying you a gift that she thinks you're gonna like that doll that's stuffed with cotton, and we are now advanced to NFTs. So I that's when I saw the change, like, yes, I agree, change always needs to happen. But again, who is in the room making those decisions? Like, how are you, if this is the demographic that you're going for, then maybe have people in the room that's going to help say, hey, this is what the generation you're targeting maybe wants.
I'd love to sit down and talk to Dewey Foley, because he's one of their young writers and obviously has like grown up in a wrestling family. And I just love to like hear what his experience has been. It's like somebody who kind of,
I would love to hear that.
So he's seen, but he's like, I grew up around like that era, but I'm also like, 32. So like, I see things a little bit different. Man, I feel like I keep going back to Dewey because in my head, if there's somebody that if they just kind of run free for a little bit, that I think would do a really bang up job, I think it would be Dewey. I think he might be like the kind of, I hate to say like Vince Russo, Ed Ferrara of this era, but I think that he would be somebody that would come to the table with ideas that might actually connect with some people.
Yeah, I just feel like this new version is it's okay, but I think what they're trying to do, it hasn't hit yet, and it might be a time thing. But again, if we reference reality shows, it's 2 or 3 episodes in that you connect with a certain reality star that or reality persons who's on the show that you gravitate towards. And so it might be how they're putting what they're suggesting people do for their characters that's not hitting. Like it's a lot of different things. There's a lot of moving parts in putting the show together. So maybe kind of stripping it down.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of these NXT stars in the Rumble. I think we're going to see a run of them. I think we see Braun Breaker. I think we see Tony D'Angelo. I think we see Grayson Waller, maybe a Joe Gacy. But I think they're going to try to use, they're going to go back to what they were doing when they were properly building NXT and like let them compete at Survivor Series, right? Like now that it's Vince's product again, I think he's going to be more, he's got to be more willing to allow these talents to get, some exposure on these bigger platforms. They haven't announced a whole lot of the men's entrance yet for the Rumble, so I'm expecting a lot of like NXT talent.
Yeah, we'll see. There's only time will tell.
Man, by the way, there's this one dude, Jose, who's just going in on me repeatedly about how I talk crap about WWE and I gloat about AEW being better, and I just don't think that's true. And I don't know how to block this Don Saul person, but they're very mean as well. So I just want to say,
we don't acknowledge them. They're watching us, so they can always tune out.
All right. Lastly, here, more news from NXT before we get to Effie, and then we'll hop to the mailbag. The Observer saying WWE talent relations head John Laurinaitis pretty much ordered new NXT recruit Javier Bernal to get his hair cut. Laurinaitis saw Bernal during rehearsals, told him he should cut his hair. It should be noted that Laurinaitis did say the choice was up to Bernal, but the change was made. Bernal has done some work as a hair model in the past, and all I thought about while reading this and finding out about this was that scene from The Simpsons where Mr. Burns is telling Roger Clemens to get his sideburns cut. Same thing. An old man. It's an old man thing. Like, you look like a hippie. Cut your hair. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Again, it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When I saw that, I thought of the times where there's certain people in the industry where somebody suggests something and it works for them, and then there's it can go either way. I think what the intent is, and then if it works. He doesn't have to cut his hair, but if he cuts his hair and it's a different look and everybody gravitates toward him, that might be something. So I think that's where tester groups and other things come into play. But it's his reasoning behind asking him to do that.
All right. Well, TK, I want to thank you for joining me up top, talking all the news of the day. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Great little party here to wrap the week up. We're a couple minutes away from me premiering my interview with Effie over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel, so you go check that out. And then, of course, if you're in audio form, you just heard it. So I hope you enjoyed Effie. We'll dive to the mailbag at Wink Daily, WINC Daily over on Twitter. That's the account to follow. Today's poll question: what Rampage match are you most looking forward to? There's 4 announced for tonight. I was kind of interested, considering how popular Hook is, if he would win this poll or not, because you got Moxley, Ethan Page tonight, Hook, Serpentico, the Young Bucks taking on the Best Friends, and then Jade Cargill defending the TBS title on TNT against Anna Jay. We have 150 votes here. 53.1 goes to Moxley Page, 33.6 Hook versus Serpentico, 8.4 go to the Bucks and Best Friends, and 4.9 to Jade Cargill and Anna Jay. What are you most excited about here?
Well, I mean, of course, women's wrestling. I'm excited about it, but I'm also know what the outcome is going to be. Like, I don't see Jade dropping the title anytime soon. So that's kind of just want to see if I'm correct in my assumption. And then, of course, my second very close to number 1 would be Moxley.
Yeah, I'm just excited to watch the Hook train keep rolling on. I like his music. I don't really know that I think I like the entrance maybe more than the match, but both are pretty good. I'll hang my hat on Hook Serpentico. I'm excited to see Moxley versus Page too. I mean, I'm sure the match is going to be really, really good. And I'm interested to see how Moxley just kind of moves differently, right? It's obvious he's trimmed down a little bit. He's kind of cleared his head and he's kind of in a different place. So, I mean, I'm just interested to see how Moxley, wrestles now with this new physique he's brought on.
I think it's going to be it's going to be on a whole different level. Like when you get, whether it's, and I don't want to kind of say it's whether it's drinking or not, but when you try something new, especially in a healthier way, whether it's, giving up fast food or whatever, you feel you feel almost superhuman like. So I think we're going to get a different one and a different type of Moxley. I think we're going to like everything that he's going to be doing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the poll is pretty spot on here, but we got Matt Luna 09 saying #send Hook. We have, and wait, is it not the Bucks versus the Best Friends? I see people talking about Nick Jackson versus Trent. Is it going to be a singles match? I don't really know what's happening here. Let me see real fast. Because it was originally supposed to be Roppongi Vice getting back together. But Rocky Romero is tested positive for COVID-19, sadly, sending our best to Rocky. So he will not be on the show tonight. Okay. Yeah. No. All right. I can't find the update. It might be a singles, might be a tag match. So, all right. TK, anything you want to put over here before we wrap up the Wrestling Inc. Daily today?
No, we have just, definitely tune into Women's Wrestling Talk. We have a lot of great interviews. We have content. Actually, one of our writers is going to be at AEW tonight, so definitely check out some live content there, videos, pictures, etc. And yeah, we have a whole thing planned for Black History Month celebrating Black women wrestlers. So that's going to be coming out in about a week. So definitely check that out. So you can go to www.talkpod.com. Same thing with social media, and you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad.
Awesome. And of course, I'll be back on Monday. I'll be joined by Michael Weissman. We're going to have part 2 of Raj's conversation with Diamond Dallas Page. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support us on iTunes. Give us a nice 5-star review if you can. Support Wrestling Inc. on all the socials and come back tonight for the Wrestling Inc. podcast after SmackDown. I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will talk to you then. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.